Hi, everyone. Welcome. It is my honor to introduce the president of Fordham University, Tania Tetlow. Madam President, great to have you with us.
I'm so glad to be here.
Let everyone know, I will disclose that I had two sons. We have one there now. I had a previous son, still a son, went to Fordham 10 years ago. It described Fordham because I know there are two campuses.
We have the oldest campus in the Bronx, 181 years old on Rose Hill, and it's a beautiful 80-acre Gothic building kind of campus. And then we have half of our students at Lincoln Center. It's right next to the Lincoln Center complex is Fordham, and it's high-rise buildings with a green quad in the middle, and our graduate business and law school, but also a lot of our undergrads are there too. So it's two very different campus experiences in one university.
And it is a Jesuit university, one of 28 in the country. You are the first layperson to be, first woman to be the president at Fordham, but also at Loyola. You were also the first, correct?
Yes.
What's up with the first? What, yeah. And let folks know that your family, your dad, your family steeped in the Jesuit tradition. Explain that to folks.
So I have a lot of Jesuits in my family, great uncles. My uncle Joe Tetlow is a sort of famous scholar in Ignatian spirituality. And my dad was a Jesuit for 17 years. So he came to Fordham for graduate school, met my mom at Mass, and they got to be close. And he had this agonizing choice because he really loved being a priest, but he felt called to have a family. And I joked in my inauguration speech, I like to think he made the right choice, and I hope I've made it up to the Jesuits. But I was raised with the Jesuit charism really from birth, got my own Jesuit education since infancy, and it has prepared me very well for this role.
It is close, but not exactly the Jesuit tradition. I was raised and taught by the Christian Brothers. Does that resonate at all? We'll leave that alone.
Well, my dad taught at a Christian Brother high school for a little while, so I love them too.
To all my brothers at Essex Catholic High School in Newark that doesn't exist anymore, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We've had different university presidents throughout the region join us at different times. The most pressing challenge facing Fordham and the higher ed community almost 3 years into this pandemic is?
The pandemic itself, of figuring out how best to protect our community and do right by people who come with very different levels of risk, and to care about each other and express those values. But I think the most pressing issue remains, and COVID made this worse. How do we provide excellence to our students, everything they deserve, at a cost that they can afford? And that's just getting tougher and tougher in higher ed.
I spent a lot of time on the business side of things. And again, I'm interested in this whole question of the job of a president and how it's evolved, president of a major university. People don't differentiate between a chancellor, a provost, a president. Well, it's all the same. Well, not exactly. A significant part of your job as president is fundraising, business development, and relationship building. Fair?
Yes, yes. So both the internal role, if I were CEO of a private company, I would get to just run the company. I get to do that with the university, but also have the external role of building partnerships across the community, and also raising the kind of transformative gifts that really push us forward.
President Tetlow, I'm curious about this. We've had people on in the past, one that a big influencer, Gary V., who people may know. Gary came on a few years ago, and I had this debate with him at our Lincoln Center studio right around the corner from the campus, Fordham campus in Manhattan. And he kept arguing with me that higher ed is overrated. Look at all the money that's spent in higher ed. Later on, you could have taken the money and started a business. And I said, Gary, but the experience, the relationships, the social development, make the case for higher ed.
We try to instill the kind of lifelong curiosity and habit of learning that you will have forever, to give the variety of different skill sets that you need to flourish starting your own business or doing anything else you want to do in life. So critical thinking, cultural competence in a global economy, the ability to think clearly, to reason persuasively, to write, to speak, all of those sorts of skills, to learn a field, which is very important depending on what you want to do, including business, and then to be in a group of students who come from every walk of life, every corner of the planet, and to learn as much from them as you do from us about how to get along with different people, how to navigate the kinds of skills you need to be a leader.
Curious about this. I'm a student of communication, taught it, coached in the field, continue to coach in the field, and my doctorate is from another university, Rutgers, is in the field. So I'm a student of people who communicate effectively or not, especially when you do this. Your background as a lawyer, how much does that have to do with your ability to communicate concisely and effectively in a situation like this, as well as president and building relationships with people all over the region and the nation?
A lot, particularly because I was for a stretch a lawyer trying cases to juries as a federal prosecutor. So you quickly learn that most people listen for about 10 minutes, that's an awfully long time to communicate a great deal if you're focused, that you need to think about where people are coming from, right? You don't start in the middle of the story. You don't speak in jargon. You really try to teach and to persuade. So being a teacher helps with that as well. But that ability to stand up and with very little preparation, communicate something powerful and try to bring people over to your point of view, that was very, very good training in the courtroom.
Let me ask you real quick before I let you go. We are in the middle of a football season as we're taping this program. By the time it airs, it may be over. And I've been to some Fordham football games. It's a very exciting time. Sports and athletics and higher ed tied very directly, correct?
Well, yes and no. There are a few schools that get a lot of news, that make a lot of money off of athletics and get a lot of attention for that. And that drives their admissions, the sort of SEC effect.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I've heard.
For the vast majority of us, what we work to do is to have an experience for student athletes that gives them incredible discipline, that sense of teamwork, camaraderie, and just so that doesn't sound too vague and trite, when we look at the graduation rates of our student athletes and their GPAs, they are some of our best students. They graduated higher rates than everyone else. And we like to think that's both the kinds of skills they bring to us and what we help them create when they're here. So, at its best, athletics add something really valuable to the quality of an education.
Thank you for putting that in perspective. Some people have it twisted.
Yes.
Thank you, President.
It is not the point of what we do, is to provide TV games, right?
Academics first, because that's why our sons went there.
And that sports can be a really powerful part of that, but it's not supposed to supplant that.
No, it's not the main meal. Yes. Tania Tetlow, as president of Fordham University, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
So glad to be here.
You got it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Johnson & Johnson, New Jersey's Clean Energy Program, the Russell Berrie Foundation, PNC, Grow Up Great, NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan, Englewood Health, Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters, and by the Adler Aphasia Center. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, and by AM 970 The Answer.
It only gets better.